This college with a sense of pride.
Faithful God, we praise you. Thank you for teaching us always to hope and believe in you. You have been so good to us. You are our bread in a starving land, our water in dry places. If it wasn't for you, sometimes we'd be all alone. Help us to remember that you are the potter and we are the clay. Dear God, strengthen us to surrender to your potter's hands, to be molded into people you desire us to be. Help us to show your love and mercy to others. When we face obstacles, help us to trust you. Your ways are better than ours. It's in the precious name of Jesus I pray, and it's the precious name of Jesus I count it all done. Amen.
Amen. Call the First Council Board of Trustees meeting to order. Is there a motion to adopt the proposed agenda?
So moved.
Second. Properly motion by Mr. McDonald, second by Mr. Blackman. And second, all those in favor, let me know by saying aye. Those opposed, say nay. Is there a motion to adopt the consent agenda, approving the minutes for May 2nd board meeting? So
Second.
properly motion by King, second by Ms. Ham. All those in favor, let me know by saying aye. Those opposed. That's unanimous. We are thankful for everyone that has gathered here this evening. We are glad to have a representative from the Republican Independent, G. Whistle, and members of the community. So that takes us down to our next item, recognition and celebration of students, teachers, and awesome programs that we have going on within the district.
Dr. Smith, Dr. Goodman, board. We'll start our recognitions tonight by recognizing several students. First, I'll ask Stover Middle School student Erin Campbell to come forward. Erin is part of the Stover Middle archery team. She recently won second place in bullseye out of 115 middle school females at the South Carolina State Archery Competition. She was also recognized for placing fifth in the middle school girls division of the IBO 3D competition, where she competed against 80 other middle school girls. What a great accomplishment. Congratulations. Mom, we good? All right. Next, will Camden High School junior Joyce Edwards please come forward? Tonight, we recognize Joyce for being named the South Carolina Gatorade Player of the Year. This prestigious honor encompasses academics, athletics, and character. Joyce is only the second Camden High School basketball player to be selected for this honor. Her head coach, Natalie Norris, was the first one to be selected from Camden High School in 1992. Joyce averaged 28.5 points, 13.6 rebounds, 3.5 steals, 2.9 assists, and 2.6 blocks this season in helping the Dogs to their first state championship since 1981. She's been a starter on the varsity team since the 7th grade. Off the court, Joyce volunteers locally at Beyond the Court basketball camps as a coach at the Jackson Teen Center, where she tutors students in math and science. She's also a member of the National Beta Club, the volleyball team, and the soccer team. So congratulations to Joyce for all of your hard work. Our next group of students earned several awards at the 67th Annual USC Regional Science Fair. School districts from across the state competed in this science fair, and more than 350 projects were judged. Stover science teacher Megan McBride coordinated the school's science fair and helped these students prepare for the USC Science Fair. Please come forward when I call your name. Layla McCoy. Layla earned the Director's Award and a Metric Award. Layla Miller also earned first place in Behavioral Science category and honorable mention in the Gray L. Allen Award. And Andrew Rembrandt, I'm sorry if I messed that up, Rembrandt. Andrew earned second place in the chemistry division and outstanding achievement and third place for the 7th grade project. Congratulations. We will now recognize several staff members. We'll start with Emily Bacamo from Lugoff Elgin Middle School. Emily, will you please come forward? Emily applied for and received several grants. First, she received a grant for $1,200 titled Holocaust Education Novel Study from the South Carolina Council on the Holocaust. She will use the funds to supply the school with 200 copies of the book, What Was the Holocaust? Students at Lugoff Elgin Middle School participated in an interdisciplinary study about the Holocaust, where they read and applied information from this unit. Emily also received a grant from the Camden Junior Welfare League titled Authentic Authors for Hispanic Latino Students. She will use this grant to purchase books for the library to serve the population of students of Hispanic and Latino background. This will help ensure that these students have access to culturally relevant works by authentic authors. Many of the titles will be written in Spanish, and some of the titles will have copies in both Spanish and English. Great work, Emily. Thank you for all that you do. The next recognition goes to Brenda Kirkland. Brenda has been hard at work securing grants to bring the Anne Frank traveling exhibit and Holocaust Remembrance exhibit to Lugoff Elgin Middle School. Brenda received a grant for $2,000, from the South Carolina Council on the Holocaust, $1,000 grant from the Sheldon K. Smith Holocaust Education Foundation, and a $500 grant from the Camden Junior Welfare League. The Holocaust Remembrance exhibit will be on display at the same time as the Anne Frank exhibit at the school. These grants also help cover the cost of the books that will be read school-wide as an introduction to the Holocaust to give students the background knowledge of the events surrounding the Holocaust. All of the students at Lugoff Elgin Middle School will benefit from this grant by gaining historical knowledge of the Holocaust. Other schools within the district will be invited to attend the exhibit, and the community will be invited one evening while it is hosted at the middle school. Great work, Brenda. It is an amazing opportunity for all of our students in the community. We will now move into our school level recognitions. We'll start with North Central High School. Will North Central High School wrestling coach Jason Brassel and students, wrestlers, please come forward. The Knights wrestling team competed in the state tournament earlier this year and finished as the Class 2A state runner-up. This year was North Central's third championship appearance since 2019. Congratulations, Russell. Great job, boys. Next, I'll ask North Central High School Assistant Principal Meredith Kirkland to please come forward. Ms. Kirkland applied for and was awarded a $32,000 grant from the Health Services District of Kershaw County for North Central High. Joining us is Sally Harrell from the Kershaw County Health Services District. This grant will be used to fund the Wellness Coaching Partnership with the University of South Carolina. The North Central Wellness Coaching Program provides North Central High School with doctoral psychology students who provide mental health wellness coaching for North Central High School students. Thank you, Ms. Kirkland and Ms. Harrell, for all of your work on this grant. We know it will greatly benefit our students. Our next award goes to North Central High School Band. Will Band Director Jonas Nix please join us up front? The North Central High School Silver Knights earned the South Carolina Band Directors Association Outstanding Performance Award. This award is the most prestigious award that the association gives each year to South Carolina band programs. The Band Directors Association commented that Silver Knights performed at a very high level at all SCBDA events, including marching band competitions, all state and region band, concert performance assessment, and solo and ensemble, and earned enough points to be recognized as one of the top bands in the state. Congratulations. We good. Our next recognition goes to the Camden High School Academic Quiz Bowl team. Will Coach Jeannie Wallace, Team Captain Laney Williams, please come forward. The Academic Quiz Bowl was coached by Jeannie Wallace and Amy Goodwin. This year, the Academic Quiz Bowl State Championship competition was held at Francis Marion University. The team winners from the 4 statewide consortiums competed in the semifinals and finals. Camden High School's team defeated Latta High School in the semifinals and advanced to face two-time defending state champions 96 High School. A team of students did an outstanding job and finished as the state championship runner-up. Congratulations. Now we will recognize some state championship athletes from Camden High School. Will Coach Bates, Coach Stanton, Alex Hinton, Slade Thunderbird, Hank Greenway, and David Pope please come forward. These are the coaches and some of the players from the Camden High School boys tennis team. The team finished the season 13-2, with the only 2 losses being against 2 5A schools. They went on to defeat Daniel 5-1 in the state championship match on May 6th in Florence. 3 of these players also went on to receive all-state honors at the South Carolina High School League Singles Championship on May 8th and 9th. Most of the players on this team have been playing together since they were 9 years old. So this is a huge accomplishment that they're very proud of. Congratulations. Next, we will recognize a group of students from Camden Middle School who received a great honor. Will Dr. Christy McIntyre, Tyler Steele, Junior Beta Club President Olivia Frazier, Junior Beta Club Vice President Ryan Neal, Beta Club Board Member Kaylin Johnson, and photographer Callison McIntyre, please come forward. The National Beta Club at Camden Middle School has been proudly named a 2023 National Beta MVP Service Award. The club earned this award by spending an average of 92.476 hours per member serving their school, community, state this year. Obviously, Dr. McIntyre is a math teacher. In addition, Camden Middle School ranks second in the entire state of South Carolina by serving a total of 19,605 hours to their community. They have completed service in nursing homes, food pantries, and raised funds for the school's activity fund. They've also served at old soldiers' homes, collected shoes for an organization providing them to people across the globe, and written letters to soldiers and created care packages. This group of students has competed at national conventions and placed first, receiving the Grand Champion Award in ELA, Science, and Social Studies, as well as the Trading Pins competition. They have also earned School of Merit and School of Distinction status for this year and were featured on WLTX for their service award honor. Join me in congratulating this special group of students. Our final recognition tonight goes to the academic department. Will Director of Elementary Education, Ginger Cato, please join me up front. Kershaw County School District has been selected as a Countdown to Kindergarten community partner and received $10,000 in funding from the Office of First Steps to go towards putting on our back to school transition event for the Kershaw County community. We will host this second annual event on Saturday, June 24th at the City Arena. During this event, all new 4K students will receive school supplies, backpacks, and information to ease their transition into school. Last year, this was a great success. We're excited to continue this great event for our school and community and brand new students.
No one is signed up for public forum or new business. We're going to go to board policy review first reading. I think that's Dan and Becky.
Dr. Smith, Dr. Goodwin, members of the board. We are bringing policy IKE, promotion and retention of students, and administrative rule IKFR, graduation requirements to you with changes for consideration. We are bringing them tonight just as information. The proposed changes are in response to the new state personal finance graduation requirement. In November 2022, the State Board of Education approved the requirement that beginning with entering freshman class of 2023-24, students will be required to complete a 1/2 credit in financial literacy to earn a South Carolina high school diploma. On May 9th, upon the second reading, the State Board of Education approved the standards for the personal finance 1/2 unit graduation requirement. A student must still earn a total of 24 total credits in the state approved courses for graduation. So this 1/2 credit will come out of the current elective category, changing that requirement to 6.5. And we'll be happy to take any questions.
I just have one, if you don't mind, on the IKF dash Romeo. Only change to that is just adding the personal finance into that cat. There's nothing in that. I read all through this. I was like, I don't see it. Okay, so you just add that and then figure it.
Yes, sir.
Right, I'll follow the button.
Yes, so any staffing
changes needs with regard to the policy change?
Yes, sir, there will have to be, since we're adding this course, and it will be a requirement for all incoming freshmen next year, we're not, going to offer it as a freshman level course, because the freshmen have enough to take currently in their freshman year, but as a sophomore, junior, and senior level course. For example, and Ms. Helly and I were speaking earlier, Lugoff Elgin High School has approximately 500. If 25 students are in a class, that's 20 sections that we'll have to cover. So that makes approximately 3 FTEs. So either we're going to have to change what some folks are teaching, or we'll have to add FTEs. So in some instances, in talking with Mr. Branham at North Central, he's going to change one of his foreign language teachers and probably to take this up. In the other instances, we'll either have to add a teacher or somebody will have to change. And teachers can get trained beginning at the Education Business Summit this summer. So it will have to be a teacher who is either a math teacher or an economics teacher. It has to be pretty specific in what they can add on to be able to teach this class. So yes, in some instances, this will require us to perhaps add additional teachers.
But it does have to be a certified, like it can't be an outside person who a finance advisor.
It needs to be a certified teacher.
So this could be part of business education?
It will, yes, sir. But it will count as an elective.
And it's an elective.
Yes.
I think I think it's a needed entity to have in our schools, but worries a little bit what the staffing needs might be. And I mean, there's somebody that to teach them duress, they would go out of their mode or zone or whatever, but I guess we'll see.
And just, again, perfect transparency, we plan on offering this as a full unit class rather than a half a unit class. If you offer it as a half a unit class, then we have to pair that up with another half unit class. So we would have to create yet another class to go along with that. So we offer it as a full unit class, then we don't have to create that pairing.
Any other questions? Thank you. Next item, proposed fiscal year budget.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Dr. Goodwin, members of the board, good evening. So we're bringing to you tonight the first reading of the Operation and General Fund 23-24 budget proposal. I want you to know that this budget proposal is based on the Senate version of the budget, which is the most recent completed version that we have. Although that budget has been set back to the House, we're still awaiting what is referred to as the House to do budget, and then the conference committee to follow behind that if needed to make final debates and send that on to the governor's office. We do feel like that'll take place fairly quickly. We hope that you agree this evening as we present this budget that this is a people-focused budget. It is driven mostly by state mandates regarding specific classifications of employee salaries and fringe costs. And we know that in large part, this human capital investment into our folks working in the district, those cost increases translate directly into the classrooms, so it has direct impact on students. In addition, we've taken time to ensure that the instructional supply and material needs are adequate within this budget carrying from the current year. So I'll move right into summary of changes and look at some accomplishments within this budget. As mandated by the state, there is a minimum of a $2,500 increase in each cell of the teacher salary schedule. And under proviso 1.3, I'll remind you that that does not only include the classroom teacher, there are other categories that are included in that proviso, included but not limited to nurses, guidance counselors, media specialists, OTs and PTs, and there are some other categories of the like that are included in there. Also included is a $2.28 minimum per hour increase to each cell of the bus driver salary schedule. That equates to about an average of 15% increase across all cells of the bus driver salary schedule. The budget also includes a step increase for all eligible employees, a 3% cost of living adjustment for classifications other than teachers and bus drivers. And under this budget, we've talked about this before, where eligible working retirees would move from step 18 to 23. And that is applicable to all classifications under our schedules. Kershaw County School District is one of the few that's still under the allowance of that provision, has negotiated salaries below actual salary schedule placements. We feel like that is a very good positive move in a time when it's hard to replace vacancies as it is, to keep those tenured, very knowledgeable, highly qualified folks in place. Additional changes and accomplishments. This budget does include FTEs necessary to maintain our classroom staffing ratios. We talked about growth in areas of the county, and we are well prepared to handle that as needed. And again, special education staffing is a great need. There are a lot of vacancies that are out there. And we're prepared to handle those as needed on a contractual basis if we have to. Equity and staffing is a consideration in this budget. It is included and talked about some areas where been operating with maybe a half-time position in certain areas. Media assistance is one that comes to mind. It would be our intent within this budget to work towards having those full-time staff members in place as needed to make sure that we have the proper coverage and cover the responsibilities that are necessary. Budget shifts from the ESSER funded expenses where possible. We know that money is going to go away, so we need to make preparations for any expenses that we deem sustainable and necessary for those ESSER expenses. We just need to prepare for those in the general fund when that time comes. In addition, in this budget, obviously, we're taking time again to look at program expense needs and supplies, materials, making sure that's adequate in the budget. And we've also taken a look at utilities and facilities maintenance needs in the budget as well. And the last two items are mandates from the state. We have the 1% employer retirement contribution increase, and we have an employer health insurance cost increase at 3.74%. Little caveat to that, though, is in the current year 22-23, there was a very big health insurance increase mandate of 18% that was handed down to the districts. So that being such a large increase, we're capturing the other half of that in this current budget because those changes do not take place until January 1st, their calendar year, whereas we're fiscal year. That sums up the changes and accomplishments. I'll pause there in case there are any questions regarding these items.
Right, if you don't mind. Yeah, the first page summary of changes, are all those state mandated changes or just the 2,500 and 2.28?
So the those the first two bullets are the only mandates.
Okay.
For the teacher salary schedule. and the bus driver schedule. And the increase on the bus driver schedule is the allowed change in dollars from sale to sale based on what the change to the state minimum schedule is.
So second question, based on that first is this, just going back from our work session, seeing where our last board meeting, seeing where kind of starting teacher salary is for Kershaw County and looking at the districts around us, how far down we are in comparison with some of those others. Is there any way possible without killing the budget to increase that 2,500 or more, or is it?
That is certainly on our radar. Our goal is to keep that as an open option going into the final reading. We did not want to overcommit to anything until we get a final state budget to make sure we didn't have any unexpected changes to do. But it is something we're looking into.
And then the last question goes to your comment about the insurance. Looking at the budget, I see there's a 1.7 million increase in insurance. Is that based upon what you were just saying, recapturing that other?
A good portion of it is, but we also have to remember that the percentage increase is mandated by the state's not the only thing that changes that number. Anytime you change salaries to a higher level, that changes, and the impact of the ESSER certainly plays into that as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
I got a question. You done?
Yeah.
You done? Okay. And this is for superintendent or you. Do we have after school tutoring? We offer to, because we got
Yes.
behind in COVID.
Yes, sir. We do have an after-school tutoring program that is funded through ESSER current.
Okay.
Yes.
So that may go away, is my understanding. That may go away and we will still offer the tutoring.
It obviously could go away if we're not able to shift that over after next school year, but in next school year, that would still be in our budget.
The reason I'm asking the question is that teachers stay after school to tutor. How are they being paid?
They're paid based off timesheets at a rate that is set.
Okay. So those teachers would actually earn money to tutor.
Yes, sir.
And we have employees also in other areas that work overtime. Am I with you? Understand?
Yes, sir.
Their regular job or regular hours. Or is everybody receiving time for that?
When it comes to things like homebound and other things like that, we do compensate. We do have an issue that as part of the salary study that we told y'all we were going to commission is an equity of funding for those particular positions. There is some question, if I do home-based instruction for a student versus if I do after-school tutoring, we really have some imbalance in those that needs to be shored up.
Okay. Now, the reason I'm asking the question is because in our budget, as we begin our budget, we've got some folks, I believe, that work extra hours. Maybe in teaching profession, it may not be in, maybe secretarial, maybe in some other areas that are not necessarily on a contract. You might help me out, but they deserve the extra hours if they must be spending that, and pay should be on. Compensation should be made for those that work extra hours. I don't see that in here. I don't know what's.
It's not really reflected here because it's more of an operational issue that we do need to address some individuals who, by nature of their job description, they're here additional hours from time to time that we do need to.
We can address that issue.
Yes, sir. Within this budget, we sure can.
Okay, that's what I want to make. I just want to clarify that. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Okay, now the questions.
Okay, moving right along. Go to the budget summary and first look at the expenses. Before we translate this into a consolidated format to wrap things up. I will not belabor each item on this list. Certainly, if there are any questions that I do not hit on, if you have those questions, please let me know. But I'm going to hit some of the primary highlights. What I'd like for you to reference is the very left column, the actual FY 21-22 expenses. Please note that those are actual numbers from the prior fiscal year as a reference. There's not year-to-date numbers. And the increase or decrease that is reflected on the sheet is compared to the current year projected. It is not being compared to the budget in the current year. However, we can look and compare those two budget columns in current year and what is being proposed. And you can also gauge and see what the change is there or whether there is no change at all. So the top section, anywhere where you see the salaries, note that those changes are that includes one step and a 3% increase for any categories other than teachers or those other categories mentioned under proviso 1.3. And with the exception of the one step and the mandated step increase for the bus drivers as mandated by the state on their adjustment on schedule. And as you can see, the big mandated changes certainly that occurs under the teacher salary in the teacher salary row, where we're about over $3.9 million in total on that change. That's a pretty significant change over what last year's mandate was, and is reflected in that expenditure change and that investment in that area. I will point you to the transportation salaries. Again, that is your bus driver increase in the state, based on the state mandate of a little over $400,000. I'll highlight the insurance row. As Mr. McDonald mentioned, $1.7 million increase for the insurance cost. Again, that's capturing the 3.74% mandate for the current year and half the previous year, as well as all of the other fringe increases for that line item based on salary changes in general. What we're attempting to do there is make sure that we get us to a point where we're booking that budget for the full year, so that we ensure that we're keeping up and not falling behind when we have to do halvesies of a year during the time when it's a very big increase, because that's going to come back around to another 15, 16, 17, 18% increase. Next row down to retirement increase. 1% increase on retirement costs doesn't sound like a lot, but we can't just add 1% to what our current expense is. That is a 1% increase compared to your salaries as a whole. And any of those salaries and costs that we're moving in from other special funds back to the general fund, for instance, special. So that comes in at a little over $2.1 million increased cost. And just to go along with that, the matching FICA, that's a pretty standard increase for our salary change overall. I'll quickly highlight the utilities that we've looked at, water and sewage, energy and gas, and communications. Water and sewage, small increase of only $5,000, but it is something we need to look at on an annual basis, just to make sure that we have enough there to handle the billings and any potential changes that could be coming our way. Energy and gas, you will see a 0 or a blank there, and the increase decrease. The reason is, again, that's compared to current year projection. However, you will see that that is a $250,000 increase from the current year budget of $2,750,000 to $3 million. And we have talked a lot about the increased utility costs related to energy and gas at the local level. And we do expect that to have some impact in the next fiscal year, even though some of those seem to be decreasing. We're not sure exactly what the trend is going to be. We'll continue to keep an eye on that. And then the communications line, $10,000 increase, just for some plans of increase in needs in the telecommunications area as far as telephone goes. So minor increases in the overall aspect, just to make sure that we're keeping pace with any increases on the utility side. And as we round this out, there are some minor increases when it comes to supplies. and the technology supplies area. Our supplies, general supply needs for instruction. We're going to utilize the general fund more effectively to streamline some other programs. And so that we can better utilize those funds out of those special programs, for instance, Title I, and streamline those. And of course, technology supplies, that is simply expenses to make sure that we can maintain our one-on-one and provide the instructional technology as needed. So those are the primary points on the expenditure side, brings us to a total of $112,444,000 above what is projected for this year. So I'll allow any questions for the expenditure comments if you have any.
Raise your hand. It looks like the $2,500 roughly equates to about 5 to 6% of salary increases. About right, which I've always said, if you know, an impact of a raise is enough to be able to pay a bill with it. So that seems like that's going to kind of hit my little personal mark. But the one thing I would implore, and maybe Dr. Goodwin, is when you look at this at a salary study, you know, if the board moves forward with that, is to also maybe consider something for administrators, because, you know, I feel like we may be a little bit lacking there with regard to our contiguous districts. Some of the ones who recruit away from us, we be able to retain some of those people and at least be able to incentivize them a little more as well. Because, you know, you want to be happy in your job, morale needs to be high, but at the end of the day, you want to feel compensated for what you do. So I know it probably won't happen in this budget, but I would like for the board respectful request at some point for the board to consider some administrative adjustments as well.
And I'll just say that those classifications are included under the 3% cost of living adjustment. Just
Right. Right. And then the other thing I would say is, it looks like this budget does is to give ample money, or at least sufficient money to our schools to be able to get what they need in the regular. It's consumable supplies, paper, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Because you know, oftentimes you scramble in the school building to get what you need to be able to function on a daily basis. And then the last thing I just as a question, and Brad, you may not have, I don't know if this happened in your previous district or not, but at one time, this probably might predate me back, you know, early on in the board, when I served previously, we incentivized folks writing grants. And I don't know if that would be a general budget fund item. And I guess what I'm talking about, for those of you who may not know, if you write a grant for $50K, you get a 5% incentivization from that offered from the board or the district, which I guess you're looking at Ms. Lockmo and some of the other grants that were written. It just incentivizes, you know, folks out of the course of their day, because it takes time to write a grant outside of the scope of your duties. It might help a little bit with more folks kind of stepping up and wanting to write grants. And I'm guessing that would be a fairly nominal increase in the budget. Again, probably something we may want to consider next year if the board's meeting with that.
Jamie, if I could comment on the supplies, especially because one of the things that we've done is try to make the operation of our title programs more efficient. And part of that is we had a little bit of supply money here and a little bit there and all. And what we try to do is to pull all of that into a larger pool of resources. And then we went back and revisited all of the supply accounts and reestablished some enrollment-based funding of those, and sort of certain kind of whack over time to make sure that the schools have what they need. We met with every principal about their needs, but not only that, but and Brad went so far as to meet with every department and to dissect not only what the department needed, but what they needed to do for schools. We certainly try to address that.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I have 2 questions, on off the budget. First one is student services. You're showing a cut of roughly 600,000. What is that and why? It kind of stands out, student services. You don't care.
Sure, and I apologize, I should have mentioned that. So the difference is actually, if you look at the $345,000 that's budgeted, proposed budget for next year, that's really unchanged from this year. It's identical. So the projected finishing mark of $931,000 is realistic. The expenses where we figure we'll finish up. But that is one of those areas, and we hit on it a little bit in facility, finance and facilities a couple of times. That is the area where our contracted services falls, where we can't fill vacancies for instance, special education, speech language pathology, for instance, is a big one. So we have enough money budgeted in the salary area because we're retaining those vacancies. So we have substantial budget to cover that. We would just rather retain those vacancies in the salary lines because we also then get to build in the budget and the fridge as well, as opposed to shifting that just to the contract.
And then what is the transfers on the bottom of the page, the 850,000?
Okay, the large majority of that transfer is our general fund obligation for the train, the HVAC performance contract, where we are committing a dollar amount in savings on an annual basis for having those efficient units under that program. So approximately 600,000 of that is for the train project. So we book those expenses to the general fund as our offset for annual savings. The rest of that's going to be some transfer line items for transportation, security, and athletic officials, things of that nature.
What is the return as it relates to the train energy efficiency? I'm past that, Lord. I mean, are we seeing anything?
Yes, so far, to my knowledge, I haven't seen a lot of the history, but since that's been in existence a few years, I don't know exactly when it started. The guaranteed savings on an annual basis has never been not met. So the savings are there based on their reviews through the management association that captures that data.
I'm sorry, when I heard athletic officials, what did you, what were you referring to again? I'm sorry.
Those are transfers out of the general fund that help the people activities.
Okay.
Cover the athletic.
And that would also include the officials, the security, transportation,
Yes.
and that sort of thing. Okay, that's what I was. I missed that.
No problem. No problem.
I couldn't hear.
Other questions?
All right, got one more page. This is putting everything together. It's gonna bring the expense cost we just talked about to this consolidated page. And we're now gonna bring in the revenue side. Again, we have the 2021 actuals as a reference. We have the 22-23 budget column, and then we have the proposed budget column. A few comments about the top section for local source revenue. Please don't misinterpret the negative $1.7 million to $1,775,000. That is not a reduction in local revenue, nor is it a shortfall. Keep in mind the proposed budget we have for 23-24 before you is simply proposing the exact same budget we had for 22-23. What this is comparing to is where we project the potential revenue to be this year at the end of this fiscal year for local revenue. Keep in mind there's no millage increase, and it's our feeling at this point in the budget process. What we did not want to do is simply make our budget for next year what we expect this year to end up being. Because from a local level, your ad valorem increases or your ad valorem revenue, that can change. It does change when you get towards the end of the year and prepare for your audit. you have delinquents, you have 60-day collections, you have adjustments that have to be netted out. And as we all know, these loan agreements are very fluid year over year. So what we did not want to do is make any commitments of increasing that revenue to expected results this year premature. It is something that we can review before the final reading, but we did not want to jump out there just yet. So just for clarity, there is no change in the local revenue budget from current year to next year at this point. State source revenue, pretty simple. This is straight off of the Senate version update and projections. The EFA revenue and the EIA revenue is straight from the State Department. Those are the net dollars that we expect to get. And as a reminder, we have not yet finished the first year of the new funding model. So we are adjusting those lines as we present those to you, so we get those in line with what they should be. And then your tier 3 increase, those are the only 3 lines that change at the state level. And that is your total general fund state revenue increase for the year. So all that said, proposed 23-24 revenues, total of $111,821. As you can see, that does give us currently a shortfall of just over $600,000. A couple of comments on that. For purposes of the first reading, I would say that we could consider that covered by the general fund balance if we need to for the purpose of the reading. However, we have high confidence that we'll be able to eliminate that very easily before we get to final reading and have a final state budget. And we know that we're not dealing with any other variables that we don't want to jump out there and assume at this point. It's interesting that shortfall actually makes a little bit of sense. It seems to be reasonable because that almost aligns identically with what the teacher step increase cost, which is a mandate that is unfunded. It's funny that it comes down to about that same amount. So with that said, just a couple of quick reminders. And we'll certainly take time for questions and discussion. Just keep in mind that the legislative body adjourned without a final state budget again. We expect to hopefully have that in short order in May. We just received contracts in as of May 10th, so there are a lot of things to review. There are a lot of ins and outs of the budget prep system that we have to make some salary grid and we'll have to wait and change between now and final reading. And we'll certainly continue to review any non-salary items and identify any needs and trends as we near year end. So with that, Mr. Chair, that concludes my comments regarding the budget. I'll certainly turn it over to Dr. Coogan if he would like to make any comments regarding the budget.
Just a couple of comments. There is no doubt that this budget, when you try to make a budget for an organization, you want it to be a fiscal representation of our mission. And there's no doubt that it comes back to that, which is, we're about educating children. And to do that, we've got to take care of the staff that we have and have the adequate staff. A couple of things to take note of when we talk about the competitiveness for teachers. We have 38 certified positions as of when I walked down to this building a few hours ago. Of those, 13 are special ed positions. So when we talk about those student service contracts, we will have student service contracts because that's the only way we can deliver the services to children. In addition to that, though, we also have 26 classified staff positions open right now. And that really does not take into account our bus driver shortage. That is just the regular posted position for position. So we've got a challenge in front of us. I will say that, there's a high confidence level that when all of this shakes out, that there'll be no concern about that shortfall. And in fact, we will be able to look at things like what else can we do for certified staff members going forward. we believe that all of this is going to shake out in a positive way. This has been a really strange budget year because both the House and Senate jumped way out in front and passed budgets within hours of them being debated on the floor. I mean, very, very quickly. And quite honestly, there are only minor differences between the House and the Senate version, but those minor differences end up impacting what our local fair share is what the differences are. The money all looks the same, but what you have to look at is how much do we have to give and how much does the state give? So that's where the major differences are. We feel really good though, bringing you a first reading budget tonight though, that focuses on, our most important asset, which is our people, and making sure that we're trying to take into account their needs because, if we don't have good quality staff, we can't do the other things that we need to do. So I'm sure y'all have questions for Mr. Willard. You might have a question for me that I then defer to Mr. Willard. We'll certainly take any more.
I don't have a question, but a statement. Listening to what Chip said and what Mr. Willard said and what the board has said in our workshop. It seems as if we are in agreement that we will move forward and do as much more for administrative teachers, bus drivers all across the board. If nothing comes from legislation that impact us, we all will be working in that direction that we can do more. Because that's what I think I'm hearing everyone say, so that we can fill positions and get people on board and raise up. And even if necessary, go beyond those that are around us so that we can have the best that's available.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, sir.
I know this may be very preliminary, Mr. Willard, but in the future, one thing I'd like to find out, I have obviously an opinion about voucher bill that passed, which will divert some of our public school monies to private school sector. What the impact on our budget would be. It may be relatively nominal with regard to our enrollment, but it may be a pretty big hit. And I know it might be a year before we can actually analyze that, but if you don't mind putting that on the radar, I'd like to know, at some point in time, what that impact might be. I don't know if it can be projected or not, but I would be curious.
Right, and I agree, I think, if we may, I'd like for Dr. Goodwin and I to talk about that, because I don't know if all the i's have been dotted and t's have been crossed on that language as of yet. To know what we might be even dealing with. When that comes.
It's actually a 1 year delay in the implementation. So we're next year, there won't be any impact within the next year. And then the proposed charter schools in the area, it could, and folks, let's remember, charter schools are public schools. We do have to remind everybody of that. And there can be benefits of having local charters, and then there can also be liabilities. So, we'll need to watch that real closely also.
Thank you.
Chair, we would bring this first reading budget as a recommendation from administration, and would ask for your consideration in passing it tonight, knowing that there will be some fairly significant adjustments between first and second reading.
You have seen
For first
reading.
Pass reading, first reading approved.
Yes. Is there a motion for first reading approval?
So moved.
Properly motion by Mr. McDonald, second by Dr. King. In discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, it's done.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
It's time I do not have one, but I'm going to pause Because I know, members of the board has been out in the community, going to various schools and just invited, and anyone share. Just very brief, if not. Here and now. Is there mostly going to executive?
Yeah, I'm gonna bring something up since you asked that question. Around the various schools, and Dr. Harrison, you can fill me in on this. And I'm gonna go very slowly, but you already aware of it. And if I do so. When we built the elementary school, it was my understanding. I was chairman at the time when we considered it, and that's nothing to do with me at all, but it was gonna be a state-of-the-art school with inside the school and outside the school with the facilities needed for participation. Whatever it might be, soccer, baseball, softball, where fields are gonna be provided for the students and shared with the elementary and middle school. I've been there and I've discussed with Dr. Harrison. And this is not anything to maybe pick at, but I get myself riled up sometimes when I see fields that are basically dirt. We had a middle school field there for a middle school practice football field that is absolutely overgrown. They've taken the old goalpost down from the high school and sat in the middle of the field somewhere to lay on the ground. Now I'm saying it, why am I bringing this up? Because I'm bringing this up because this board agreed that when those schools were consolidated, they would have the state-of-the-art facilities inside the school, activities, and they would have activities, access activities, and grounds to participate in. It's not there. So, and Dr. Harrison, you correct me when I'm wrong. I believe you've seen what I'm talking about. And I will bring, and so I'm just making a statement, basically, in a finance facility, I'll be bringing it up again about these fields. What the shape they're in. It's really, I'm gonna tell you right now, you'd be surprised that if you go and take a look. And there's supposed to be, it's supposed to be done. I hope it will be done. I hope the board will continue to work as what we agreed to. And that'll be finished up as soon as possible. But I've had phone calls on it, brought to my attention. And so I'm going to share it with you. You open the door for me to say something.
Thank you, Coach.
And it has something to do with finances, but it also has something to do with facilities, so it has to be done. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Like you understand.
Is there a motion to go into executive session to discuss resignation and retirement of certified classified personnel? Yes.
Mr. Chair, before we do that, under the superintendent's remarks, July the 11th, we have a scheduled meeting. And I have to be out of state at a meeting that I'm required to be at on that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I would respectfully ask if we could move the board meeting in July to July the 18th. So that I could make all of this work on my calendar.
From the 11th to the
Thank you. No objection. It's done. Okay.
Thanks, sir.
That works for everyone. I know you did that quickly, but I don't. Overlook. Everyone there. Is there a motion to go into executive session to discuss resignation and retirement of certified classified personnel? Employment of certified classified personnel, simultaneous and transfer of certified classified personnel.
Second.
Proper motion by Mr. Harris, second by Mr. Roberts. All those in favor, let me know by saying aye. Those opposed. A motion to reconvene to open session. Probably motion by Ms. Furnace, second by Mr. Ira. All those in favor, let me know by saying aye. In executive session, we discussed resignation and retirement of certified and classified personnel. Appointment of certified and classified personnel, simultaneously transfer of certified classified personnel. Is there a motion to accept administration recommendation concerning employment matters?
So moved.
Second.
Properly motion by Coach Blackman, second by Mr. Ira. All those in favor, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Is there a motion to adjourn the close? Properly moved by Mr. Dr. King, second by Mr. Ira. All in favor, let me know by saying yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Heavenly Father, this evening we ask that you dispatch your angels to watch over us as we head home this evening, Lord. Thank you, Lord, for being in our presence this evening, Lord. We invoke your presence at the beginning of the meeting. And again, Lord, dispatch your angels for protection and let us find all is well when we get home. And we give you all the honor and glory that is due you. And it's in your name we pray. Amen.